Welcome to the Tenfold AI Podcast, sponsored by Promode.ai. Promode.ai is a B2B marketing platform for mid-market companies, completely handling all of their digital marketing needs from social media to SEO and content strategy as well. Powerful. Sorry. Take two. Should I stop it or just start over? Okay. Welcome to the Tenfold AI Podcast. I'm Heather Snyder, joined by Matt Scanlon, and the Tenfold AI Podcast is brought to you by Promode.ai, the B2B marketing engine for mid-market companies to completely handle all of their digital marketing with the power of AI, 73% less than the average marketing agency engagement, and a lot more powerful than other marketing solutions. Hi, Matt.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Can't complain.
Cool. Well, I thought it'd be fun to talk about some recent news in AI. We do these podcasts once a week, and if we were in any other industry, it might be hard to find recent news every single week. But in the world of AI, there is recent news every single day. So there's always something to talk about in that space. Coming to mind first would be the Google Core update that happened a couple of days ago, and how it's affected some SEO with lots and lots of websites. And as with any Google Core update, there's always some initial SEO reaction. And sometimes that recovers, sometimes it doesn't, but it kind of shakes the apple cart of the web momentarily, leaving digital marketers in a frenzy, wondering if their clients will recover. But what's your thoughts on the Google Core update as it relates to AI content and SEO?
I mean, I think like most Google Core updates is interesting to such a niche audience. And by and large, if you could summarize every single Google Core update that's ever come out, it is don't be spammy, don't try to hack the system, don't keyword stuff. If you look back at every core update since like 2018, that has pretty much been the guidance from Google.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see this update as any different. I mean, Google is obviously addressing now they're addressing AI generated content. They have been since 2023, and their guidance is still the same. Like whether you use AI or you use interns, don't keyword stuff, don't game the system, don't have like hidden text in your headers. It all is kind of the exact same. Now, the response to this update, I mean, you want to talk about misinformation. I think that there's significantly more misinformation around Google Core updates, and it is obvious that that's coming from the sort of legacy SEO provider. And they're obviously trying to maintain market share. You can't blame them, but yeah, I think it's a lot to do about nothing, actually.
Yeah. So, one thing in talking about Promode to, clients and potential clients, there's a concern of if we generate content with AI, will Google hate us? And will they penalize us for having AI content? So is there some magic tool that can detect what is AI and what is not AI? There's a lot of conflicting information about that.
Yeah, there's no reliable tools. I mean, like fundamentally AI and the AI detection tools, I mean, they're all working on probability models. So AI generated content is a probability calculation of the next letter or the next number that needs to be generated. And so when you're looking at an AI powered AI detection, you have one probability model analyzing the probability model of another AI without actually seeing the probability calculations that went into that. So these AI detection things, I mean, now, where do these work? AI detection works with your kids' schoolwork. It works phenomenally well with detecting your kids' schoolwork because you have, I mean, first off, the teacher has seen your writing a million times, and oftentimes these kids are prompting, they're prompting GPT to write my history paper. They're not saying write my history paper as if you are a high school sophomore with a C in English, create a 4% error rate.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Here are some of my own actual writing samples, replicate this. I mean, they're not getting sophisticated with it. They're saying write my
Yeah.
history paper.
Right. They're essentially, putting pillows under the covers to make it look like they're still there at home when they sneak out. It's not a sophisticated little heist that they're pulling.
Exactly. And so yeah, these AI detection, they work well for that, but just fundamentally, like if you were to look under the hood as ChatGPT was giving you a text output, under the hood, there's a bunch of mathematical probability calculations that are going on. Now, if these AI detection tools had that list of those probability metrics, well, obviously, if we saw probability metrics, we would know it was AI because it was built based on probability. But you can't assess that without having those all of the list of probabilities that went into that output. So
Mm-hmm.
I think these AI detection things are I mean, all of the like everything that you read about it, they are like 50% accuracy 50% of the time. I mean, it is, again, it's
Yeah.
all probability. There would be no way to 100% be certain of any of that.
Yeah, because it's not like there's anything, behind the scenes in the copy itself, like a watermark or something
Mhm.
that this is AI. Like you said, it's just comes down to the pattern recognition of the likelihood that this has been generated by AI. And with blog content and SEO rankings, it has a lot more to do with the keyword stuffing that you were talking about. So just to explain to folks what that is who might not know, that's really where if you are a commercial HVAC company and you sell and service large commercial air conditioning units and furnace units, refrigeration, things like that, that would be writing a blog with tons and tons of frequency of those keywords that you want to rank for because you want potential customers to find you when they're Googling, HVAC near me. And so in an attempt to win those rankings, digital marketing agencies, copywriters will juice the content almost to an unreadable point sometimes, where it's like, why are we saying the same word 50 times in the same blog? And that's really what's triggering Google to say, this is not valuable content to the user.
I would even make the argument. I just was like hearing you talk, and I was like thinking to myself, one could easily make the argument that a well trained AI model could actually output less spammy information than a human doing what you're talking about, because that AI model could calculate in real time the keyword density of the content that it's writing,
Mm-hmm.
keep that keyword density under 3%, and you could train a model to write in a very natural conversational tone, maintain a keyword density that Google likes, and avoid any of the key stuff and it's calculating it in real time. Guess what? Because I promise you, there's not a single agency that is calculating keyword density percentage with
Mm.
humans that are writing it. Nobody is doing that. I mean,
Yeah.
and so here you've got a foolproof way to calculate whether
Mm-hmm.
or not you are keyword stuffing in real time. And you could
Yeah.
calculate that. Not only could you calculate that for this single blog post you're writing, you could calculate your keyword density across your entire website in real time
Mm-hmm.
and just ensure that any additions that you make with this particular post does not stuff keywords across the entire site.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know a single agency that isn't using AI to write blog content. So then the question is, are they adhering to those keyword density rules and regulations that Google has implemented. And if not, then they're going to be on the wrong end of these core updates. Yeah.
Side note, I'm realizing how I got sunburned now. This time of year, like sun
Yeah,
starts
you're
going through
catching
my
the rays there with your
exactly.
angle. You might need
Uh,
to close a window or something. Yeah.
well, and I would even say another thing to think about is like all of this fear as it relates to AI generated content in Google rankings. Don't forget about the incentives here, right? Like, I mean, if you've ever used Perplexity AI as a search engine, you know that there are very powerful tools that are competing with Google for search visibility.
Mm-hmm.
So, why would the company who owns 95% of search on the internet, who has some very viable disruptors nipping at their heels, why would they say, okay, we want to exclude what is going to become the primary content on the internet from our core revenue? It
Mm.
makes no sense. Like the incentives are not aligned there. And so, just
Yeah.
even from a first principles perspective,
Mm-hmm.
why would Google say, okay, we're no longer going to index things when they have all of these disruptors entering the space saying, yeah, we'll index it. We'll make it easy to find.
Mm.
We'll provide answers that people want in a much better format than Google is doing. It would be
Yeah.
idiotic for Google to
Yeah.
penalize that.
Right. They would just cannibalize their own business at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was reading an article just the other day about Perplexity AI. They're gaining, I think it's 1 million users a month right now. So they're picking up steam. I was just talking to a company yesterday about Perplexity, and they had not heard it. Canadian consulting firm. They had not heard of it. And for them in particular, I said, I think we should be paying attention to Perplexity for you. And they're like, why? Well, your target are CTOs. You're trying to reach CTOs in the US, and highly technical people are typically early adopters of things like this, right? Better ways to get information. So if we're not paying attention to how you're ranking in Perplexity, I feel like that's an oversight.
100% that is an oversight. Yeah. And I mean, we've had conversations about Reddit in the past. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you have ever if you have ever enabled Reddit searches from Perplexity, I will tell you what, if you're looking for specific information like, how to fix my mountain bike, to I've got this weird dev problem where I need to somehow like boot in this Linux application into my MacBook. It is Perplexity using Reddit is a gold mine.
Mm.
So, pro tip, that is a
Yeah,
powerful tool.
that is, and we don't even want to get into Discord. That's that's a little too nerdy for me, but I can appreciate that things are happening in those spaces. But speaking of tools and tech, what are some recent tools or brands that you're excited about in the world of AI? And I think with this podcast, one thing we want to help business owners do is make good AI decisions for their businesses and avoid kind of the most obvious pitfall, which would be shiny object syndrome. So, getting sort of entranced with the idea of a particular tool and wasting a lot of time and not getting a lot of benefit from it, which can definitely happen with a lot of these AI tools. So, making smart AI decisions that are smart for your business is the goal. So, what are some tools you're excited about, and how can they be a benefit, and how could they turn into just another shiny object?
So I am so drift. I mean, this is, and actually, I just learned this right before, right before we started recording, admittedly. So Drift, I've used Drift as for like product support chat in the past. So it's a really powerful chat application that has a very open API. So you can connect it with all of these different tools. But previously, like, it's wow. The last time that I used Drift, you would have to build out your logic trees for these support. I mean, and so just imagine like the craziest web of all potential scenarios as you have
Mm,
as you have a customer going
right.
through a
It's like a huge
sales.
flow chat or flow chart rather of um, possibilities.
Exactly. So, I mean, I really think that now I don't think that a chatbot on your website is like the future of this thing. So this is where we would potentially get into shiny object syndrome. But I do think a cool thing about Drift is that you can intake requests from customers or leads, do any kind of support routing and things like that. And it uses AI, so you don't have to build out all of these crazy logic trees. The thing
Hmm.
that I like about it though is that if companies became accustomed to building out that type of workflow for their customers or prospects, it will set the stage for a future where all of these interactions are likely happening through text messaging. So
Hmm.
I don't think in the future people are going to be going to your website, clicking on a chat icon and chatting with that thing. I think that people will likely prefer to text your business and go through a conversational uh, chat experience in that way. It's a platform
Hmm.
they're accustomed to. They use it all the time, and that would be a really convenient way for a customer to interact with you in a way that they're accustomed to. But then from your perspective as the business, with a tool like Drift that has such an open API, now you can begin to route those interactions everywhere. You put it into your CRM, you can,
Mm.
forward that to the correct department. But I think that as if a company can just think about getting accustomed to putting everything about them into a database that an AI uses to do things for you. Any
Hmm.
tool that looks like that would be a good thing to get accustomed to building because
Yeah.
that's how you're going to be doing business in the future.
Well, I'm thinking of, B2B applications for that because, in the world of B2B, I think it's still sort of the the environment is you don't really text
Hmm.
in a B2B marketing and business scenario unless that person's already a client.
Hmm.
And maybe if they're a prospect and you've already had a conversation and you're in a sales process, then texting is fine. But texting for cold prospecting and company information to clients is still kind of not there yet for a variety of reasons, I think. A lot of people in the B2B world have multiple phones. So which phone are you going to text? The work phone, the personal phone? So I think things like email are still the standard in the B2B world. However, you're saying, I think, you could use a tool like that to essentially create a knowledge base of FAQs that could live in your CRM. And then as prospects are asking questions, your salesperson can inquire the chatbot on those questions, pull those answers from that database in a super fast way. Maybe that's even integrated to the email interface itself to get back to prospects faster, give them better information, and cut way down on the team time of sales going to the team and asking questions and getting information. If that's already in a database that's easily accessible, that salesperson doesn't have to hunt all over their Google Drive or, other shared knowledge sources that the company has, they can just ping the chatbot, get the answer, and send it straight to the prospect.
100, yes. And I think that let's even zoom out a little bit more from what you're saying. I think the fundamental promise that AI offers is, and I want to like preface this. I think the fundamental promise that AI using retrieval augmented generation databases, that promise is like infinite institutional knowledge forever. Like that is the promise of this technology. So to your point, I mean, how many, like, we were just trying to get some doors fixed. We had some doors installed a few years ago. The rep that we had at whatever it is, Anderson or something, is no longer there. And so like we like had always communicated via text message. We had his number. This is the person that we contact for anything related to this. Well, he's not there anymore, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and there is, and so went through a like 3 week process of just getting handed off to the next person, that person downloading everything about the specs of the job and all of that. Like, what a pain in the ass for the customer and what a pain in the ass for the company. But now, if all of those interactions that occurred were stored in a retrieval augmented generation database, that
Mm-hmm.
person, our point of contact, left the company. Well, now all of a sudden, you just need our name and you know everything that was going on. We don't even need to be assigned to a single person. Now all of a sudden is like, who is the available person in this company right now that is fully brought up to speed with everything that's going on in real time.
Yeah. I think what you're talking about is really, the power of an owned, central source of truth for every company. And I think that's where we see the biggest potential impact for companies. And I think it's largely unrealized at this point. I think it's becoming a little bit more commonplace to hear this kind of language. But the way it looks to me is, there's the CRM, and a really good CRM that's adopted by the sales team appropriately, where they are capturing prospect conversations and the emails integrated into that, which I think a lot of the companies we talk to have something like that at varying levels of accuracy and population. But the idea is you have this central source of truth, and to the business owner, it provides it provides an increased level of ownership. Meaning, if those sales people leave, if the team turns over, the business owner still owns those conversations, those relationships, those valuable interactions that have happened. They get to maintain that and not bear the brunt of the turnover quite as much, right? And so what we're talking about with a RAG, or retrieval augmented generation database, is really like the 2.0 of that, or the next generation of the idea of owning your CRM for the purpose of providing stability and preserving the ownership of the company, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just takes that a step further and affects more departments than just sales.
Yes. And that in the example that you're talking about, like this retrieval augmented generation CRM, it's fully portable. It's not, I mean, if anybody's ever switched CRMs or had to train somebody new on CRMs, I mean, what a massive pain in the ass that is. It like, these are not portable tools. They're intentionally not portable. I mean, gosh, you hire a new salesperson in the company. I mean, their first like 4 months on the job are just fumbling around with trying to figure out how the CRM works. And then
Mm-hmm.
and you've got Tony who's been here for 20 years. He's not touched the thing ever,
Yeah.
but you can't fire him because he's got all these,
Yeah.
you know,
Relationships. Yeah.
exact, you know what I mean? It solves all of these problems of like institutional knowledge and data portability. So, I don't know. I think like broad takeaway, you know what I mean? Our sort of goal here is to help prevent this shiny object syndrome that
Mm-hmm.
people get. One thing that we certainly see is there is a lot of focus on the cool things that come out of AI, right? And so like what are the results of this? What is this prospecting email that was written? What is this? I mean, even in our case, this LinkedIn post or this blog post, like what is this output out of this thing? People are so hyper focused on that. And I think that that's a mistake because it is very easy to game that system
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to to AI. You can get something cool to come out of anything. But I think where, especially mid-market B2B, where they need to be thinking is, does this tool allow me to start building institutional knowledge that is in any format, fully portable, can be used across a million different applications? Because that really is the end result. In fact, I mean, one of the biggest problems that I have with Pro Mode is just knowing how much could come out of it and not, I mean, that's my shiny object syndrome, is knowing that we're building these really powerful databases of institutional knowledge. And today we're using it for marketing, but like, my God, the amount of stuff that could come out of this thing is mind boggling to me. And, so that's where I would encourage people to think is this a
Mhm.
tool where I have the ability to just put raw data into it just repeatedly, and it learns, it indexes, it gets refined, and then I can retrieve that in something as simple as just like a chat request.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's this world of AI and retrieval augmented generation, it can be overwhelming, but to me the simplest way to think about it is like with Pro Mode, like you said, the output is great, but the real owned value of it is your data plus AI. Your data plus AI. Today it's pointed towards marketing, but tomorrow it could be pointed towards sales, towards client communications, towards, financial modeling, all kinds of things. That same owned database with the power of AI fueling it.
100%. That is exact. It almost makes the AI piece of it almost, I don't want to say like inconsequential, like almost interchangeable. I mean, you could attach any AI model onto this
Mhm.
thing. So if you have, as a company, are realizing you want to get on board with this, you understand, I mean, the problems that it solves, the problems that AI solves are tremendous. This is probably getting into the magic bullet territory here. And we're talking about this technology has the ability to do protein folding. It solves the problem of ever having to train a new employee ever again.
What is protein folding?
I'm going to
I
be
just
way,
folded some laundry upstairs, but I have a feeling it's probably different than that.
yeah, I'm going to be way over my skis on this one. So protein folding has something to do with like amino acids, and
Okay.
yeah, so it's like
So it's actually protein,
yeah, it's like
like molecules or
biotech. Yep.
something.
So,
Okay,
so,
I see.
so if you want to know how protein replicates, there's a fixed number of amino acids that can all combine, and AI does phenomenal with it and will
Yeah.
solve a lot of medical issues. That's super impressive. And then, down to the mid-market B2B level, I mean, you could hire a new salesperson and that person be up and running that day. Any question that needs answered, it like it will give you an hour by hour update of where your prospects are. I mean, these things are it's very powerful and very incredible, the things this can solve. But also remember that it's not a magic bullet, and that's where I think people need to be a little bit wary. And I think that thinking about it in the way that we've been talking about the retrieval augmented generation piece. So if you're using a tool that is kind of like, I don't know how to describe this, but if it's like up and running and giving you something cool that you want to show your friends right away, it's probably it's it's probably not powerful. It's probably not going to be a legacy tool that your company uses for the long term. You know, so there is an element of you have to be committed to the idea of creating institutional knowledge that can be used by AI. And that's when you do kind of get into somewhat magic bullet territory. But
Hmm.
if the tools you're looking at is do not offer that, then I think you're chasing down a rabbit hole that you will never find the end of.
Yeah, I think that's good. It's not a magic bullet. I think there's so many AI companies popping up. I heard a few months ago there were 1,000 LLC registrations a day
Hmm.
this in the last year for AI companies. 1,000 a day. And I don't know if that's global. I guess it's just national since it was an LLC registration. There's shiny tools everywhere. This one generates images. This one will edit your video. This one will transcribe your video. This one will create copy for you. This one makes sales copy. This one makes client communication copy. Like whatever the possible application. And sometimes there's no even recommended application. It's just here's a thing that does something, figure it out. It's $20 a month. Have fun. And I think a lot of business owners and business leaders I've talked to, they fall into one of a few different kind of buckets with their AI experience. Either they have never done anything with AI, like at all. They've never logged into ChatGPT, tried it at all. And I think actually a lot of those are some of the smartest ones because they're keen enough to know that they don't know enough to get the value out of it. They know that. They're like, okay, if this is, they've read some Wall Street Journal articles, they've heard some things on the radio about AI, they probably understand the inner workings of AI, like you've talked about, more than a lot of the, party trick hoppers who love to use all the different tools, right? So they actually have some understanding of the tech behind AI, the idea behind it, and the potential of it, which is why they haven't tried a lot of these tools because they're kind of, waiting for something that is not only within reach from a cost perspective, but connects to an actual problem they have.
That's exactly it. That's connects to a problem they have, and it's in a specific problem that they have. Okay, this is a great example. So, one thing that I've heard a lot is there. I mean, so there's the sort of like AI powered CRM thing. You know what I mean? Like I've heard plenty of people say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, is there a tool that can do lead generation, lead nurturing, and just hand me somebody that has got their credit card out right now? And it's like, okay, let's think about this for just 1 second. If that shit actually worked, like at a certain point, there's like no customers ever to be had because then every person becomes a lead, every lead gets nurtured to become a customer. Like, okay, yes, there are there are things that can be done. Like AI can write an email for you to nurture that lead. Absolutely. They can move a lead through a pipeline. But like, really, do you think that if this thing actually worked in the way that it is advertised, would not every single company on planet Earth do that? Oh, you mean I can just sign up for this thing and I automatically receive customers from a robot? I mean, that's insane to me. Like,
Yeah.
you as a company, you still need to have a phenomenal value proposition. You need to have an opinion. You need a personality. You need a voice. And in fact, more so than ever does your company need to have an identity, because without an identity, without an opinion, without a take on things, it is in the world of AI generated content. If you are not feeding your company personality into a AI accessible database, all of a sudden, every email in everybody's inbox is going to look the exact same. We will become the AI checkers and we will become very good at it because all of this content will be so bland and so ubiquitous. So, like, you still need to go through these fundamental business activities. Like, if you are not fundamentally a strong business with a strong opinion, with a personality, with a compelling value proposition, there's no amount of AI in the world that could solve those problems for you. So,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Well, and that's where I think there's a big disconnect in the world of AI tools and party tricks. And it's not even just AI. This has been going on for a decade. Anything in the sales and lead gen, quick fix, low monthly cost software subscription model. There's a big disconnect between companies like that and the mid-market B2B company. And I think one of the reasons for that is these large mid-market, let's say like 50 to 500 million companies that typically are market leaders in their regions. Maybe they are commercial roofing, commercial asphalt, commercial HVAC, construction, concrete, these big kind of dinosaur companies, as I've called them, big for the mid-market, right? Regionally big in where they serve. These companies are 30, 40, 50 years old. A lot of them are third or fourth generation ownership, and you are not going to come to them with some shiny sales slick tool and say, this is what's going to convert people, because they will call bullshit on that all day long, because they know the reason they are where they are is because they have worked their ass off. They have made extreme sacrifices for their business, and they have done the real work that built this country. These are the
That
people,
never. Hmm.
these are the people we're talking about. So if you come at them with, we're going to radically transform everything you've ever done and make you a sales machine, and we're going to just have leads coming in your door, they roll their eyes, they don't buy it. They're not impressed because they understand the hard work that it takes them to execute their job, and they have the respect of their clients, which is something, and this gets a little, maybe a little out of line. I don't know.
Testify,
Well,
testify.
it's something that a lot of these fly-by-night software companies cannot relate to, having the respect of your clients,
Yeah,
right?
if you just raise a $5 million round with zero revenue, you think you can relate with the
Exactly. Exactly. So I think there's just a philosophical disconnect between the world of slick AI, high-powered kind of party trick siloed tools. There's a disconnect between those and the kinds of companies that we work with at Promote. And I think part of that is because of what I just pointed out with that philosophical disconnect. And the other thing is these companies, mid-market market leaders, they don't they don't want or expect quick fixes. They don't. They've been around too long. They have seen every angle of economic disaster, of employee nightmare, workers' comp sued out the ass situations. They have seen all of those things. They've been down all of those roads. They understand that true progress and longevity, which is another thing a lot of these software companies don't have, that longevity takes a more measured approach, that it takes a strategy, that it needs to, any solution needs to be carefully weighed against other possible solutions. They don't just make a decision in a heartbeat, right? And
hmm.
and that's why I love that crowd of people and offering them, high-powered slick AI, but with humility and with understanding their business position and how it differs from a flashy software company,
Yeah.
right? That no, we meet you where you are, and we built this for you, for your business model, to directly help something that you are struggling with today.
It
So sorry, I got on a little.
No, you nailed it, Heather. Nothing can replace the hard work. No AI. Like that is that you hit the nail on the head. Like AI cannot build trust for you. It
Yes, thank
cannot
you.
build a reputation for you. It cannot build community involvement. It cannot build brand recognition for you. It cannot do those things for you. If you, as a company, have gone through the hard work of doing that, then AI can sustain that work that you've done and save you money and allow you to maintain that in less time. It
Yeah.
makes the maintenance of those things across. I mean, probably a way to think about it is if you, as a mid market B2B, have gone through that brutal work of building that business and going through all of the economic changes, AI is a great way for you to sustain that work through all iterations of your employees. New employees come on, boom, this is you're brought up to speed on this culture. You get HR director leaves, everything is still there. That identity, that trust, all of those things are still there, and you're able to maintain that for less money and in less time.
Hmm.
But AI cannot build that for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely cannot build.
I agree. And it's like if you're a mid-market B2B company and your solution averages $500,000 or more. Like let's say you're a construction company, your average project size is $20 million, right? Your clients that you're working with, the last thing they want is to feel like a number. Like nobody wants to feel like a number. When you go buy a sandwich, you don't want to feel like a number. But you get it if you do, right? It's like, yeah, I get it. I'm buying a sandwich. They got a lot of sandwiches to make. If they weren't the kindest to me, I get it. But, when you're talking about these large transaction, high risk purchases where things can go wrong, things do go wrong on a frequent basis with a lot of these clients that we work with and the projects that they do. So in the sales process, in their sales and marketing, if they're treating their prospects like a number with high volume outreach and AI bland generic content, they're buying these widgets of AI tools here and there, and they're just pumping out messaging and pumping out automated texts to prospects. That prospect feels like a number, and they're thinking, if I do business with these people, I will feel like a number after they get my money as well. And that's when it really matters, when the rubber meets the road and I need something redone or we have a change order, something's wrong here. You're losing trust. Not only is AI not winning trust, it could lose trust among your prospects if done incorrectly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This might be like a little bit too under the hood, so Heather, feel free to cut that. We'll cut this out of the final if you want. But I mean, I think just to even reiterate the point to like how much we believe, or maybe just how objective we are about how this stuff works. But like for pro mode ourselves as a company, we like we have we're a new company. We have not done that hard work. So like when it comes to us creating a brand voice and building trust and doing like we have not been around long enough to even be able to use AI to promote an AI company.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, because
We're building our own knowledge base.
exactly. Yes. Yes. We have to go through the hard work of doing that thing. Then, I mean, after going through the hard work of doing the thing, we will get rewarded by not having to do it anymore. But it is not a substitute for the real work of company building.
Yeah, I agree. That's great. Well, let's shift gears a little bit. Looking ahead, is there anything on the horizon? I think you mentioned some Elon Musk news in the data center world. Do you want to touch on that and maybe anything else you're excited about for the next
Hmm.
kind of near term on AI?
I'm very okay. So this is just one of my number one curiosities. Okay, so give a little background information on. So we're going to talk about XAI's Colossus data center, which
Mm-hmm.
is largest, most sophisticated like AI training ground to date. Now, I think one thing that people need to understand is that these models are trained very crudely. I mean, we throw a ton of power, a ton, like it is a shitload of resources, and how the actual training is done for these large language models is also pretty, I don't want to say unsophisticated because that's not the right term. I think brute force is probably the best way to describe how large language models are built and trained. It is, we're going to throw a shit ton of very expensive GPU chips at this thing. We are going to like build our own power grid. I mean, you're better with analogies than me, but I mean, it would be like trying to hang a door with a sledgehammer. Is
Mm.
You'll come up with something. So, but I have been really fascinated. I've been wondering, well, if this is so inefficient and so costly, why do we keep going down this route? I have not been able to wrap my head around, why has somebody not come up with a different training algorithm? And that has kept me up at night because I mean, there are billions upon billions of dollars spent still training LLMs in this same very crude brute force way. And I read a statistic the other day that to where it all made sense. And it really made me realize we are very far away from somebody coming up with a new way of training an LLM. And that the figure is $9 trillion. So the estimate is the tipping point in how we are currently training LLMs, the tipping point to where that would be disrupted with a different training algorithm is somewhere around the $9 trillion invested. And so we are probably getting close to $1 trillion. I mean, between the big players like Google and now XAI, we're maybe coming up on $1 trillion. But so we're so far off. The $9 trillion mark is very interesting because $9 trillion represents 5% of annual payroll of positions that would be replaced using AI.
Mm-hmm.
Said another way, currently $9 trillion a year is 5% of all payroll costs around the world.
Yeah.
So,
It's half of the GDP.
right. Yeah. Yeah. So, so AI is predicted to replace 5% of payrolls. So that is $9 trillion. And so the thought is that the money invested in training these AI models, total $9 trillion, would have a 100% annual return on it by replacing those 5% of jobs.
Hmm.
And to realize that's the metric that they're investing, because like the amount of money that, I mean, Google especially, is the amount of money that Google is throwing into their data centers is absolutely remarkable, but it's nothing compared to the annual cost savings as a result of having these models. So
Yeah.
it will be, so I think what will happen is we'll see a major, AI will create a major energy breakthrough before we change the way that we train models. So we'll figure out, my guess is that it will be some, probably some sort of like nuclear energy solution or something like that. But it will be interesting because we're training these models in such a brute force manner, but there's no incentive to change the manner in which we train them, because the return on that investment will be 100% a year. But as a result of all the power that this brute force method works, I think it will force a major breakthrough in either battery or energy technology, which is also will be a massive net benefit for, you know, like geopolitics and, resources, the environment, et cetera, et cetera.
Very cool. And what that will look like here on regular people land, unless you look at the stock market where we'll see things like that reflected, I'm sure. But it will look like the emerging of more service as software companies.
Yes.
And I think we talked a little bit about that last week, the paradigm shift that's happening. with how people think about software, that they will not just be tools that people use to do their jobs better, but they will actually replace the person who used the tool to do the job better and do it better than the person who did the job.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's kind of the race right now, I think, that we are headstrong in with Pro Mode. We're the first that I've seen, humbly say that because we won't be the last, that has done exactly what we've done. But it's the idea that no, this is a solution that thinks to do the thing, knows to do the thing, does the thing, and you just say, cool.
Hmm.
Like that's it.
Hmm.
And that level of software use is totally new, and it comes with a lot of challenges, not just for the clients kind of really grasping it and implementing it and making those hard business decisions of this is going to mean we don't hire a marketing person, or this might even mean that if we can't, pivot our existing marketing person or people into other activities, if their skill sets do not allow for that, we might have to let them go. Right? So there's hard decisions on their part, and there's hard decisions on the part of the software companies like us as well. Things like pricing. How the hell do you price something that has never existed before?
Hmm.
I think we're all just kind of like thumb in the wind, like what's going to work, but that might be a journey that we're on for a while of, we have a price point right now of $2,500 a month that we um, specifically wanted to be significantly less than the average marketing agency engagement, because promo directly replaces that. 73% less than what these companies are spending on average is the price point we landed on. But, in a year, 2 years down the line, as more of these software as service companies pop up, we might find that we need to increase the cost. We might find that we need to drastically decrease the cost. We're not quite sure yet.
You know what I think
We'll
it
see.
does? Like, even, okay, thinking through the startup, like the startup ecosystem in general, I think with this new era of services software, like, brings us to is a return to, like, one thing that has just been absolutely lost with venture capital and SaaS is that the person using your product matter. Like their life, you know what I mean? Like you exist to make somebody's life easier, to make it better. And that really does, if you're trying to go from funding round to funding round, that gets lost in the sauce. But to your point about how do we set pricing, I think this opens up a door to where software companies can charge what it will cost to delight their customers, to solve their customers' problem, soup to nuts, beginning to end, because you are replacing entire departments, you're replacing entire services. So of
Hmm.
course, if you are replacing this with technology, you're going to be able to lower the price point substantially. Unlike a like a MailChimp or a like a HubSpot or whatever, just any software tool that you use, like it comes with it a set of pain points. Like it does not solve that entire vertical problem for you
Hmm.
right out of the gate. And that's because, like, I mean, SaaS inherently is kind of a race to the bottom. I mean, it is, you are trying to maximize price point, maximize users, independent of the profitability of that price point. And like, it's becoming rarer and rarer that you are using a software application that is just delightful, that you can't wait to
Yeah.
tell people about it. But I think
Hmm.
this era of, like, we have this openness with the variability on pricing because we're able to replace such a huge line item in your expense. We're able to now build products that people are like, holy shit, this is great. This is easy to use. Like, I mean, even then, now the idea you have Now you have margins to where you have real human, phenomenal customer service, even. Like,
Yeah.
what a cool pain point to be able to solve for a user where it's like, we, we'll have people pick up the phone when you call. Yeah, there'll
Yeah.
be a person there. They'll log into your thing. They'll help you with this. We have the ability to now provide phenomenal experiences in the way that sort of old school, like I'm talking early 2000s SaaS, we're able to deliver that type of experience now.
Yeah. And, on the marketing side, you come more from a SaaS background. I come more from a marketing background. I'm excited, looking at Promote's future in 2 years. I would love to see the best marketers in our market, which is Kansas City. I would love to see the best working for Promote as like chief strategists coming over the top, really dropping in true innovation that can be, um, amplified with the Promode engine, but having those brilliant minds and paying them exceedingly well to work at Promode. I get goosebumps when I think about it because we have the opposite future of agencies, right? They're operating at low margins and they're not able to pay their people well. And senior people are leaving left and right. They're not happy. I mean, we have several that have asked us if they can join the team, like heavy hitters that I would love to bring on. We will as soon as we can, but bringing those people in for that super high level actual marketing expertise and just dropping it into each account that they're looking at for these clients. I think it it will just be amazing and really offer that best of SaaS experience combined with best of marketing experience and great customer service throughout the whole process.
Yes, because what phenomenal marketer do you know that is just super excited to come out of a strategy meeting and then spend the next 10 hours, you know what I mean, doing like manual keyword research, putting together a summary document, putting together the proposal, doing project manage. Like, it's like
Yeah.
soul crushing to think about.
Or, you have a great strategist at an agency who has a great strategy meeting with a client. I've had many, and you arrive at these brilliant moments. There's great ideas flowing. There's actual business conversation happening. And a year later, you look at that account and the work that the agency's done for the client, and you're like, where the hell was the strategy meeting that we had? I don't see any of that reflected in anything I'm looking at. And also, we're like 6 months behind what we should have done by this point. What are we doing? Like, we were supposed to make this, add e-commerce capability to this company. Like, we're supposed to change their business model by now. That actually happened on at least one occasion that I can think of. And it's like, well, you just get bogged down in the day to day and the message doesn't translate from the strategist to the project management software that they're entering that information into, to the intern, to the next intern, to the, internal churn rates at 30%. And like that brilliance is not being captured and drawn into the actual day-to-day work. So Promote solves that, and I'm just so excited. I feel like this was like a big promote commercial today, and I kind of waxed on, but I'm just excited. This week has been a really fun week for promote, and we're moving and shaking. But yeah, I think this was great, a great chat. Is there any final things, takeaways for business owners, kind of like what they should have top of mind right now for implementing AI?
Yeah, I would just say overall, we kind of hit on a lot of it, but just to reiterate it, like the way that you should be thinking about AI is in terms of institutional knowledge, and just know that building institutional knowledge with AI, it will take work, it will take commitment. It is not a thing that you click a button and it happens. It happens a lot faster than if you weren't using AI, but that's the way you should kind of formulate it in your head. Be less concerned about the thing coming out of it than the thing going into it, because the tools and the LLMs, large language models, the AI that is being used to have stuff come out the other side of it, that is changing on a weekly basis. I mean, we talked about this Colossus data center. A month after that is up and running, Grok will have capabilities that are so far beyond what we can comprehend today. We have zero clue what that will be.
Mm-hmm.
But we do know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the AI tools that generate the output, those are rapidly changing. But the one thing we can be sure of is to be looking for tools where you are inserting your institutional knowledge, your brand, your personality, your voice. Think more about how much stuff can I put into this thing? Stop worrying about what's coming out of it. Worry about how much does this tool allow you to put into it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the important thing.
Yeah, I love it. And I'll wrap it up with the title of the podcast is Tenfold AI Podcast. And the reason it's called Tenfold is because you should think of AI as an employee for your business. And that employee's quota should be 10x or tenfold. You should have a 1000% quota for that employee. And so that's the lens we look through. That's the standard we make AI decisions from, and what we've built promo.ai to accomplish. And thank you, Matt. We'll hop back on next week.
All right. See you.